Hi, we're here with Lil Texas in his hotel room.
What's up, Lil Texas here, coming live from Łódź, right? Yeah, that's how you say it.
That's a good pronunciation, actually. You've been practicing.
Yeah, I've been practicing for like 3 days.
Were you checking with a lot of people whether that's right? Being like, is that impressive? Is that?
Well, I thought it was pronounced Lauds, and everyone was like, no, that's not how you pronounce it. So.
You started off with kind of bass music that's R&B inspired, even like pop inspired. So how did it go from there to like a little bit more hardcore music for club goers?
I think I just got to a point where I was like, not really enjoying what I was doing anymore, and sort of like beating a dead horse, like it just wasn't working out for me, success-wise, career-wise. And while I did enjoy making that style of music, I shifted in my personal life, and so as I sort of changed and grew as a person, my tastes started leaning into the more like hard sounds, into the harder styles. And I've always loved hardcore. I've always loved Gabber House, sorry. And it just felt like it was time to do something different. I was completely aware of like the how big the hardcore scene is in like Europe, especially like Netherlands, Germany, here, Spain. There are, pretty big festivals in the States though, for some like Wasteland. At EDC there's always a hardstyle stage. Beyond Wonderland has a hardstyle stage. But it kind of was good because it allowed me to be unique sort of in the American market. While people did know about hardstyle, of course, I don't think a lot of average EDM ravers knew about like hardcore, up-tempo, raw style. And so it's been cool being able to like expose a lot of American crowds to like, these new different genres.
Yeah, you're being like kind of pushed into the EDM kind of broader sector a lot of times, especially at music festivals. And how does the audience kind of react to your style there?
I've actually had some pretty good reactions on New Year's last year. I played Countdown, and so they put me on the dubstep stage, like right in the middle of the lineup. And I was the only hard dance artist. I just did my normal set, I just did what I always do. And people really liked it.
Did you actually see like a shift in the audience when your set started?
Oh yeah, I think people were like, whoa, and they just were like kind of taken aback. And there's always going to be a section of the crowd that just doesn't like it, you know what I mean? And that's okay. But I think I converted quite a bit of people that night, especially. So,
do you feel like there are any European-style rave parties in the States? Have you ever been to anything like that felt European to you?
Maybe a little bit. Like, I definitely think the underground scene, within like New York and certain cities, definitely feels much more European than like the like festival rave scene and like the club circuit, because clubs close at like 2 a.m. and pretty much everywhere but New York, and they only stay up till 4, which compared to Europe is early, I mean, I start my set at 4 tonight.
So as Lil Texas, you have to have some opinion on what's happening in Texas right now.
I mean, I came out with my opinion actually a couple weeks ago. I had a track that was going to get released, and then like the whole Roe v. Wade thing got overturned. And so I decided to push off my release just for a day, just so that there could be like space. It just didn't feel appropriate, because I definitely don't agree with that whatsoever. I think, every woman should have the right to choose what they do with their body. And I don't think that like men should be making those decisions either. It's just like, which I feel is like such a no-brainer. I feel like it's just so obvious that should, but it's not to a lot of people, apparently, in America. So I don't agree with that. And as somebody from Texas, I do love, where I'm from. Like, I'm from Texas. I represent Texas. But not all of Texas is that, And there's a lot of cool people, and there's a lot of forward-thinking people in Texas. And so I would like to bring that sort of voice to a larger space, that
I think it's really interesting. I've recently talked to my friend, and she was kind of comparing Texas to Poland. There's so many terrible things happening here in Poland when it comes to politics and stuff like that, but still there's so many things to be proud of, and it's always such a weird thing when you're coming from a place that's so like, bipolar in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the issue though, it's like that things can be so black and white. especially online and social media wise, that there's not much nuance, and it's just really not like that. Like everybody knows that like every country pretty much has, a vast expanse of different types of people, with different types of opinions. And just because we're from somewhere that's government might be sketchy, or is sketchy, doesn't mean that the people as a whole are like that.
Something a little bit lighter now. I wanted to ask you about your iconic image and how it came about, and whether it was kind of a take on stereotypes about cowboys and masculinity, and kind of trying to break that kind of stereotype in general.
Yeah, I definitely, a part of it was just like my name's Lil Texas, and like I just decided that at some point, because I used to not be in the full cowboy stuff, I've always been Lil Texas, but I was different. And so when I kind of did this shift, this rebrand into hardcore, I was like, I should really embrace this cowboy, thing. I'm from Texas, like I'm, it's legit, and I've always like really loved like the glam sort of 2000s fashion, like the like tacky rocker fashion, like Bret Michaels and Paris Hilton and stuff like that, and rhinestones, like the rhinestone cowboy, and so I got really into that, and I love like, punk and metal and grindcore and stuff, so I wanted to add in like a sort of like that kind of like punk rock goth aesthetic as well, and also just like I'm into fashion in general, and so trying to combine pieces with the cowboy aesthetic has always been a fun like little challenge, and it's my brand. But I do like what you said about the whole masculinity and sort of breaking that down. I think my opinions are this on masculinity. Like if you want to be masculine, you also need to be feminine. Like you can't be a true like alpha mask or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't really want to use the word alpha, but whatever.
I'm gonna have to ask you about your OnlyFans. So tell me, how did it even start? Was it just kind of, is it a better hustle than music? Is that it?
I joked about it for a long time. I was like, I'm gonna start an OnlyFans. I'm gonna do an OnlyFans. And then like the pandemic happened, and at the very end of the pandemic, I was like, okay, like I need some more money, Like I was okay, but like I was like, okay, like I need some more money. And I decided, I was like, I should do it. I was like, I should actually do it. And so I tested the waters, like tweeting about it. I was like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna release an OnlyFans, LOL. And people were like, you should do it. And so I was like, you know what? Like, as like a male DJ in the American EDM scene, I was like, this is gonna be a huge flex. Like, I think people joke about it, but I don't think anybody has the, like, a lot of men at least don't have the balls to actually fucking do it and put their fucking shit out there like that, But I did it, and it was a very fruitful endeavor. I made quite a bit of money. I was shocked at how much money I made.
Take notes again. Like, there's so many life tips that we should just learn from you.
You can make a lot of money on OnlyFans. You absolutely can. It takes a lot of work, though. And as the music has picked up, I'm not very active on mine anymore. I'm not active at all, in fact. But I leave it up there. So if you want to see the goods, you can go and check them out on my OnlyFans or on Twitter, because all of the Lady Gaga fans leaked my nudes.
Do not do that. Support Lil Texas and just go on OnlyFans, guys. Like, that's... I mean, we gotta support each other, right? Like, that's how it works. Okay, I want to also ask you about Vixapple, because you played with them in 2019. How do you remember that? What was the kind of the experience of playing with them? They're kind of iconic here in Poland, so...
People ask me, so what are the craziest shows you've ever played? And I always refer back to the show I played with Vixapple in Krakow. I was like, I played this party in Poland that was insane. And it was like the first really like late European rave I ever played. They were like, oh yeah, 4 a.m. you go on. And I was like, what? And they were like, oh yeah, no, that's the good spot. Like, that's like a really good set time. And I was like, okay. And they were right. It was a really good set time. And so the energy was just unparalleled, and it was like my first exposure. So very fond memories, and I'm very excited to be back tonight.
Is there anything that you want to say to the Polish ravers?
Get ready. We're going to have a great time, The pants are coming off. The shirt will be off, too. So, get ready for some up-tempo, and I love you guys, honestly. I'm stoked to meet you, too. Hopefully I can meet as many Polish fans as possible. I love doing that, so very excited to be here.